last episode got me thinking. When I was on those courthouse steps in McDowell County in Welch, West Virginia, the very same steps where 2 men were gunned down in cold-blooded murder by coal company operatives. Like I said in that video, these events eventually led to the mine wars in McDowell, Mingo, and Logan counties, West Virginia. I'm told you can even still see the bullet holes in the sides of buildings where the Matewan massacre occurred. But before I head all the way over there and see this for myself, several of you in the comments of these videos, which by the way, I appreciate you so much for watching and commenting, but many of you have mentioned for me to explore Iaeger, West Virginia. So that's exactly what I'm going to do today, heading up Route 52. Labor disputes aside, a few hundred people still live in Iaeger. It originally supported the timber industry, but Iaeger grew into the railhead for the coal industry. It was the Norfolk and Western Railroad that opened this county up to work the surrounding coal seams. And in the late 1960s, that same railroad was operating the longest and heaviest freight train in the world that ran between Iaeger, West Virginia and Portsmouth, Ohio, just over a 150-mile long trek. This super train was over 4 miles long and it pulled 500 coal cars. They did this with 6 3,600 horsepower diesel engines, and it took just over 6 hours to make the journey. Story goes that Norfolk and Western was the last railroad to dieselize in the United States. I've heard they tested out a massive steam turbine locomotive they called John Henry right here in Iaeger. It was nearly as long as a football field, maybe longer, and weighed about 1 million pounds. In the end, the diesels won out in performance. I'm going to turn left now and head downtown, but if you kept going over the bridge just a minute or two up the road, I'm told you need to stop at Newberry's and try the strawberry lemonade. It's delicious. Iaeger is situated where the Tug Fork and Dry Fork rivers meet. It was here Major Andrew Lewis camped in the 1750s during the French and Indian War. He was headed to engage in battle with Native American Indians who had been raiding settlements in Virginia. Spoiler alert, it didn't end well for that Lewis expedition. Bitter cold and food shortages spelled disaster for them. As some call it, there's been a lot of hillbilly gold extracted from these mountains. Like so many other towns and buildings that were built by coal in the coal fields of Appalachia, what remains is supported by what's left of the coal industry and other service businesses and tourism like the Hatfield and McCoy trails and Spearhead trails. As we roll into downtown here, you can see a newer playground and activity area that's been built. Just up here you can see the VFW, the empty chair, the Prisoner of War Missing in Action Memorial. Here on the right has got to be one of the tiniest city halls I've ever seen. As I drive past buildings, I see a fire department, a church, a barber shop, and what used to be a Montgomery Ward catalog sales agency. Here at the end of the street are a few other interesting buildings I'll show you. It appears to be an old hardware store. A bank. And across the tracks is an old hotel, or what's left of it, that railroad workers used to stay in. Before I head out of town, I want to show you the old Iaeger grade and junior high school. Now they've built a brand new one just up the road, but I thought this one was worth showing because it's 100 years old this year. I see a rainbow up ahead, which many people believe is a sign of good things to come. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Exploring Appalachia with me, Josh, here on the Mountain Roots channel. If you did, please help me by giving this video a thumbs up, sharing it with your friends and family, because ultimately I think the stories, the people, the places here of Appalachia, that's all something worth sharing. So thank you for checking this episode out, and we'll see you in the next one.